Alrighty, guys. Hello. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ben. This is Real Life Ed. That is short for Real Life Education. My name is not Ed. But, this channel is all about self development, learning about life, and learning lessons that actually matter. I went to school for 2 different degrees, and I did learn a lot, but I also learned different things than I thought I would learn. And I just realized there's a lot of things that you don't learn in school, you don't learn in degrees, that seem to be the most important lessons. So, this is Real Life Education. My name is Ben. Today we're going to talk about depression and anxiety being the norm in society, and maybe not on the angle that you think, because it sounds like, oh, it's normal because maybe so many people have it, and that is part of it. But what I want to get at here is that really we can feel like life is not supposed to include these things. So then when it does, we make things a lot worse, because it feels like the thing that we're going through is not normal. So it's difficult, because on the one hand, a ton of people are depressed and anxious in our society, and it's a problem. And it's a problem because the results of that are tragic. We see all kinds of things, from violence to suicides to abuse and all of these other things. But what I want to talk about is kind of maybe the upside of this prevalence, which means that what you're going through, not to belittle it at all, but like a lot of people are going through that too. So when I say that it's the norm, I mean that some of these things that might seem super foreign and super like scary and super for lack of a better phrase, like not normal or not supposed to be happening to you. I remember some of the kind of the worst stages of my anxiety and sort of depression. It felt like this is something that's not supposed to be happening in this life. It's like, this is not a part of, quotes, life. And so, this must be really wrong. This must be really bad. And it sort of is really bad, but it's also sort of part of life. So, realizing that this is kind of, quotes, normal, I just mean that, it's normal in two ways. It's normal because a lot of people are going through it, but it's also normal because the human experience is far more kind of rich, painful, and varied than society leads us to believe. So whether it's mainstream sort of TV, Hollywood type ideas about how things go, or just even your friends, and this is kind of what I want to hone in on. Even our circles of friends, sometimes it seems like everything's fine, right? It seems like everything's fine. It seems like people are just carrying on, they're living their lives, and everything's kind of fine for them. And what I've realized more as I've started talking more about this stuff, sort of my experience, is that it's simply not the case. People are going through things, and you kind of have no idea what they're going through, or at the level of what they're going through. So one thing that I started to realize, as I sort of talked about this more and talked to more people about sort of struggle and things that we're going through, is that our evaluations of our own experience is a very interesting thing. So it can seem it's subjective, right? So it can seem really bad, it can seem terrible, but then you hear someone else's story and you're like, whoa, you might be like, oh, I'm not that bad, or you might read something, you might think, well, at least I'm not doing that. So take something like like drugs or something like that. Maybe you've had some struggles with eating or alcohol, but you're like, and I've had this thought. You think, well, I'm not doing drugs, or you have these mindsets. And then you hear someone else say, I was doing this, or I was doing that drug, or I was in this, and you think, oh my gosh, like that is, that's maybe worse. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know, but I think we can. We sometimes hear these other stories, and we're like, whoa, I was evaluating my situation as kind of the worst possible one, when maybe it could have been a lot worse. But that's not to belittle kind of what you're going through, but to kind of hopefully make this make a little bit more sense. I've talked to some friends recently, people who I had not, you think about them, but I had not thought about them in terms of what they might be experiencing. And it happened on 2 different occasions, talking to people, and kind of learned of just some of the struggles and the impact on their life that those struggles had. And it made me realize that the norm in a lot of life is like, is a lot of this suffering, a lot of this, whether it's anxiety or depression or uncertainty or fear or angst or discouragement, even despair a lot of the time. So many people are just going through these things, and we we tend to not realize that. And not only does that make us feel more alone, more reluctant to talk about our own maybe struggles or to share those things, but it it also makes us not see other people for who they really are. So this is a friend of mine, married. They just had their first child, and yeah, I just didn't. She was dealing with some postpartum um, depression and anxiety and things like this that had just flared up because of the that often happens. And it was people I kind of thought, oh, you're kind of fine. Like, I don't know, you just think about it. Sometimes you think, and the guy, he didn't really he had told me, because when I had shared some things I was struggling with, he'd said kind of, I've never really experienced that, so I can't relate, and I don't know, I don't know what that would be like. But then I was talking to him, and he's talking about his wife was having these struggles, and it's just been really hard, and he couldn't relate very much. But the reality was that this was a really difficult chapter, navigating this, right? And it just reminded me that you don't see that. You wouldn't know that unless you know these people. I know them, and I didn't even know that. And you just start to realize that so many people are in that situation. So that might be you. You might be really struggling, and other people might see you and not think that you are struggling, or not thinking that they might think that you're not the kind of person who kind of goes through those things. So when I say that it's the norm, I think that can actually be helpful, because then you can bring that pain into your real life. For me, and for a lot of people, I think a big issue is lack of being able to accept the pain that you're experiencing, and to kind of integrate it into your life. It's a very difficult thing to do. It usually takes time to do that, and reflection and maturity and all kinds of things to kind of move through that, and contextualize that. And because when this pain happens kind of very fast, or it comes up to us, like, that's kind of what we call trauma, because it's like, we don't know what to do with it. So it's just this trauma, this wound. It's not kind of contextualized. And so I think when we realize this is the norm, in the sense that a lot of people are wounded, a lot of people are, what do they call it? Wounded, the walking wounded, I think that's a saying, the walking wounded, around us. And that's everyone to some extent, right? To different levels. When we realize that, maybe we can not only accept the pain and the experience of other people, and deepen our relationships in that sense, and that can be healing, but in our own situation, we can stop. People talk about derealization, or kind of depersonalization, and a lot of that has to do when it feels like kind of life's not real. It feels like you're not really integrated, because we can't accept the kind of the pain or the suffering into our life. But if we can start realizing that maybe we're calibrated by a society that is not real, a society that does not accept real life, and that tries to sort of at the same time pretend like it accepts everything, but also not really accept any real consequences, or not even the reality of human nature, because that's what kind of we're going through right now, is this all sort of acceptance, and everything's kind of okay, and everyone has a place, but with no respect for these individuals who are suffering and going through real struggles. It's all just about kind of acting these things out, and pretending like we're all kind of okay with it, and I believe without any real regard for the suffering that these people are going through. But that's kind of a separate rant. But when we accept that these things are kind of normal in our lives, in other people's lives, we can bring them into our life. So that's kind of the main message here I want to say, is that if you've got kind of pain, whatever it might be, anxiety, depression, things that feel like it's put your life on hold, it's kind of disemboweled your life, or it's severed your life into these different pieces. Realizing that is part of the process. Sounds cliche, but it's more like part of your life. It's kind of part of what's going on, and that happens. And I think it happens to everybody at different ways and in different times. Maybe it's not you personally, but maybe it is your spouse, or it's in your relationship, or it's your kids, or it's your parents. So if and that'll still cause pain in a different way. So it reaches all of us. And so I mean, that's the reason I kind of do these videos, hopefully, is to kind of share some of that and give more context to that, for other people who might have their own struggles with mental health or whatever it might be. But yeah, so I was talking to a friend. He had read one of my articles about just talking about my own kind of history with anxiety and navigating a lot of these things, and he said that yeah, him and his wife, they had found that very affirming to hear about that experience of someone else they knew, because it's like people don't talk about this. And I think that's everything. I think maybe there's something that seems really daunting in your life. Maybe it's something that happened to you. Maybe it was like abuse or trauma. Maybe it's an addiction you're currently struggling with that you don't think anyone around you would get. Maybe it's something. Usually these hidden things are what cause kind of a lot of the pain too. You can't really talk about it, so you feel like you're living that double life, or it's that separation. And if we can realize that that people are pretty messed up, and that's kind of part of the human journey, then you can start bringing those things back, not only into your real life, but also into the light, which is going to bring them some healing. I'm trying to think of a specific example I could give for this, maybe from my own experience. And one of the maybe the kind of general ones would be like just having a panic attack. And now this will be tied to your, whatever your individual fear. A lot of these things tend to prey on those things specifically. So the panic attacks tend to tailor themselves to the individual in a way that seems really serious and really really, really bad. And they are really bad. They're not fun. It's a miserable experience to go through. But when you're having those and you don't really know what they are, if you don't have any context for what's going on, that's going to seem like this terrible thing, like you're just sort of slowly dying every day, and you can't integrate it. And I kind of felt that way. Something is terribly wrong. Even starting to realize what that was, that other people had them, and that that can be the result of a bunch of different factors, from lifestyle to just needing to talk things out with other people, or through sorting things out in your relationships in your life, rebalancing things, just needing to grow. Panic attacks can come out of just because you haven't ever faced fear, and so then suddenly your life forces you to face things that you've never faced before, and then suddenly you can't handle it, so your response is fear, because the message is, oh, I can't handle this, I can't cope, when you can, but you don't realize you're strong enough, so you're almost forced into bravery. And that's where you can kind of overcome these things, when you really kind of step up to them, accept them, and step up to them. They kind of just go away, and that's kind of what happened to me. But the point being, bringing those things into your real life, or being like, yeah, I'm having I've been really down, and then I'm having panic attacks, and I don't really know why, and so yeah, I've had to I actually quit my job, or I had to move back home, and I'm kind of working through that right now. To even say that to a friend, or to be honest with yourself about that, it can be like, oh, whoa, that's real life. That's, yeah, people, that happens. And if someone else hears that, you have no idea how that might even affirm their own experience, and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm not like a freak or something because I'm going through this. But that's kind of a mild example. I don't want to get like graphic with anything, but this could be like drugs. This could be, who knows, like an abusive relationship, out closet drinking. You could be, an alcoholic. Whatever these things are, it's really painful when we know that, or when we think that's not the norm. So I'm going to separate that from my life, and realizing that these things kind of are the norm is kind of paradoxically what helps them to start going away. So hopefully that is helpful. Thanks for watching if you got this far, and I'll talk to you guys soon. We talk about mental health, physical health, holistic health, sorting these things out, and just self-improvement in general in all areas of life. So thanks for stopping by. This is Real Life Ed. My name's Ben, and I'll talk to you guys soon.